Hello there, Taurus. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. And I wanted to begin a little early today just to, first of all, say hello. And because we have a lot of information that's coming through today, and I want to make sure that I can get to everything. Quick hello here from little Apollo, my resplendent healing puppy here. Hopefully he helps brighten your day. Let's get into the messages for the month of July here. I'm going to put this sweet dog down and get talking here. I'd like to introduce myself. If you're brand new, my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. If you're a returning viewer, I want to welcome you back and just remind you again, this is for July 2020. The way that the live reading works, though, is that as we look at the deep past and recent past, there's still going to be relevant energies and information coming through for those of you that happen to be watching live. Also, because we are watching during a retrograde, a lot of the messages around that, the retrograde, by the way, goes from June 18th to July 12th. So we have a pre-shadow that's happening now. We'll be having, for many of you, as you're watching this, you'll be in the middle of it, and then there'll be a post-shadow. So these couple of months, there's a lot of information that still is relevant for releasing patterns. And that's a big part of what's coming through for your sign today, Taurus. So I can't wait to get into that. Let me talk about the way that this is formatted, and then we'll get into the channeled messages in just a second here. First of all, everything that you see here can be used for your sun sign, your rising, and also for your moon. You can watch on behalf of somebody that you love and know in your life. And if you know more parts of your chart, of course, you can watch for like Venus and things like that. So hopefully that helps clear that frequently asked question up. The other thing is that I like to separate this into distinct portions. Once the reading's gone live, I've found a way now to put the chapters in there so you can see it. But I begin with a channeled message. This is what comes to me when I am meditating. Oftentimes, I get dream messages for the sign that I'm going to be reading, and that happened for you today. So I'll be sharing those channeled messages in just a moment. Then I look at a Celtic Cross. I'll be using a deck that I've really loved lately. It's called Lightseer's Tarot, and it's really beautiful. Great images. We'll talk about that in a second. I'll put a link out too so that you can see it. Then we'll go into the expanded forecast, looking at health, wealth, love, and destiny. And then I think this is a really powerful portion. We're going to be looking at ways to heal ourselves and find peace. I think that the overall message this month for every sign is either how to find peace within your life, how to create peace in the world because we need it, and in the process, heal ourselves. So we'll be looking at past, present, and future influences for your sign that can help create that healing and peace of mind or peace in the world. And then we do a meditation to bring everything that we saw together. And that's what you can expect for today. Quick thank you to my moderators. Both Maria and Ryan do a great job every month of helping hold this space and keeping it safe and organized. So thanks, guys. I'd like to also just kind of let you know how I deal with Super Chat. Super Chat, for those of you that are new to live, is a way that you can interact with me. There's a little emoji icon, and then there's this. Basically, if you like what you see, feel free to send a positive sticker, unicorn, a rainbow, something like that, or just say thank you. It's a virtual way to sort of give a contribution like that. Thank you so much. And when we're done, I will put a little thank you box at the end once this is on replay. I don't interrupt the flow, and I don't do Q&A or pick a card. So it's just a way to say thanks like Andrea did. So thanks, Andrea. Let's go ahead now and get into the reading. So I'd like to talk about what I was seeing this morning. And it was really interesting because I'm not a musician. I write, but I'm not I don't write. I'm not a composer. I'm not a lyricist. But in the dream that I was having before I woke up, I could see a composition happening, and I heard the song too. And the main thing that I was feeling with it was this sense of, it was kind of like sadness punctuated with jubilation. And the very end of the song was that it was not an end, it was a beginning. And I was trying to find the right way to communicate that in the song, but I was kind of at the top of my lungs singing out, this isn't the end, it's a new start, a new beginning. Like, this is where we can really get things going. And I felt really heartened with this because, when you tune into things right now, the news or just the world in general, there's a lot of stuff that's going counter to that message. It just seems like things are falling apart. I mentioned in a few signs like back several months ago that my guides were showing me that in order for things to find a new sort of normal and a new, better kind of, I would say, structure, we have to kind of break it down. So this is very much a worldwide tower moment that we're going through to break down old structures. It reminded me, so the way that I wrote this down was a new beginning, not an end. And I was reminded of a really great Tracy Chapman song. I'm going to paste the link that I found it here on YouTube so you can all watch it for free after we're done here. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the lyrics. I don't know if that went out, but when I was looking at the lyrics, there were a couple of things that really struck a chord right now, and I think it makes sense. It says, "The world is broken into fragments and pieces. We were once joined together as a unified whole, but now there's too much separation. We can resolve to come together in the beginning." And there's another piece here where it's basically saying, we need to make new symbols, make new signs, make a new language, and with that redefine the world. And I think sometimes we get stuck in the old ways of thinking and the old ways of doing. And really what this whole thing was about was just giving yourself a chance to let go of the old and bring in the new. There we go, this time it'll paste. So when we're done today with the reading, check that out. It's a great song, great album, by the way, and a lot of positive messages in it. And I think that if we look at this as a chance for us to reset a cycle, as that song was saying, and to try to come together in a different way and a different light, then healing is possible. For you, this could mean that you're in a period of breaking through, breaking up, breaking apart something in your life. So if it's a key relationship, you may be deciding to walk away from that because it sort of played out everything that it was initially intended to teach you. If you're at a job that you've been at for a while and you're not feeling connected anymore, you might be looking for a breakthrough opportunity there or elsewhere. And for the rest of you, it could just be a wake-up call in your life that, hey, we don't know how many years we get on the planet. Let's really make it count. So I agree with that too. Life is finite. Our soul is infinite. We're going to, we come back, we keep learning all of the lessons, but this particular lifetime, it isn't forever. So really make sure that every moment that you're breathing and working and living and loving, that it really is helping you accomplish your soul's path and hopefully helping push the needle towards the positive. Finally, for some of you, that's going to mean a new identity. And that means that you might need to think outside of the box of, I'm an older brother, I'm an older sister, I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher, whatever it is that you were before. Maybe you're being pulled in another direction, and that's not you abandoning your path, that's you evolving. It's kind of like a moth or a butterfly going into chrysalis and coming out, or a caterpillar coming out as a moth or butterfly. So many of us are just ready to shed that old baggage, redefine who we are. And part of that, and this is what we're going through, is the break down, break up, break through sort of energy, which is difficult because when you're going through it, that's all that you feel is the separation or the shifting or the changing. But hold on the horizon that idea or that vision of what it is you're trying to evolve into. And I think that's going to be really helpful as we go through this, because sometimes it can feel overwhelming, right? And I'm going to also link up this card deck. This is called, because I always get questions about this. This is a new one. This was a gift from a client. I love it because it just kind of illustrates things in a different way. So let me get started now. I'm going to turn the camera down and really focus on bringing forth messages that will help you get through any blocks that you might be experiencing and any other sort of challenges that might be coming through, as well as embrace the opportunities. Let's take a look now at all the messages that are coming through for you. We're going to start with the catalyst message. The catalyst for me is an organizing or connecting thread that helps keep you in the path of the light, helps sort of organize everything for the month ahead. And we have a card of emergence here with the earthworm. So the interesting thing with the earthworms is they're very helpful insects or creatures because they go through and aerate the land. They also take things that are maybe not fertile and they make them fertile. So they're a transformative sort of energy. And that's why you can see within it this beautiful sort of kaleidoscope or rainbow of color. And for me, sometimes you don't understand what's going on beneath the surface. And that's what I think of when I think of the earthworms. It's usually only when it rains that you sort of see them come through to the top, or if you at nighttime when it's kind of damp because of the moisture. But they're always there kind of working and doing their thing. So I feel like a lot of us have felt like this earthworm right now because there's been a period where we've been concealed and we've been working on ourselves, and we've been sometimes just kind of waiting to show ourselves and come out. And this is saying, keep doing the work, keep holding space, keep the light during this period of change and growth. And when it feels like we're underground, like the earthworm, find a way to come out. So there's this nice energy of we can get through this, and an earthworm is very flexible. So try to be open to finding a new way out, always reaching for the light, and remembering that you play an important role in whatever's going on in your world. You're an essential element, just like that earthworm. It's a sign of fertility to me, ultimately. Whenever you see that in the soil, it means usually good things are happening and that, it's a rich soil. So I think we're going through a period where it feels like it's a desert, but it's really enriching and allowing us to develop. So at the center here, we have the Fool and the Sun. I love these energies. They're very youthful energies, I have to say. So I want to look at the Fool card, which was reversed. And the interesting thing is it can be about release. It's about starting new and just kind of not worrying so much. The Fool travels lightly. So in this deck, it's a she, but she or he usually carries just a knapsack on their back. And it's basically saying, I don't need to carry with me the fear, the pain, the frustration, also sometimes even the pressure that you might be feeling to do something or be something. It's basically saying, I'm ready to go forward, whatever that future might hold, whatever challenges or stumbling options might be in front of me, I'm going to be able to get through that. So it's a new beginning, and it is always the number 0. So it's a reset. And I love how this particular Fool, there's nothing really to worry about. It's almost like she's taking one of those, what do you call it when you kind of go backwards and you allow the world to, or someone to catch you? It's one of those trust falls. That's it. It's basically saying, I know the world has my back. I'm just going to let go and experience things. So I like that. I believe she's also holding a crystal here, an amethyst crystal, when you look really closely at the illustration. So this could be a time where you want to maybe work with crystals a little bit. That's what that one is right there, is an amethyst. It's great for protection. It's a good all-purpose crystal. The Sun card, associated with the ego, with birthing something. It's also a really dynamic energy. You can see this solar energy kind of coming out of the person. I see it as a charisma card sometimes too. And we have Apollo, who's named after the sun god as well, coming through in the background there. So with this, things to think about. Your energy isn't attractive. Sometimes it can be a force that pushes things away. So choose to have it be attractive instead of pushing. And think of the positive. Some of you could be at a point where you're going to give birth to something. It could be a project, it could be an idea, it could be a rebirth of yourself. And some of you might be conceiving a baby because we've got the Fool and the Sun there at the center. So this is a really good time for conceiving, creating, delivering. You could be at different points in that process, but I love that that's the overall energy. Now, because of the fact that retrograde hits around the midpoint of the month, this month, and then it finishes the midpoint of next month, that means that if you're watching live, you can start some of that creation now before July begins. If you're watching in July, you can continue to plan. And then around the last couple weeks of the month, you can get started. Again, it ends around the 12th. So June 18th to July 12th. So you can kind of plan around that. I believe life happens no matter what, and we can't wait for astrology. We have to kind of work around and embrace it. For me, a retrograde period can be frustrating. I was experiencing pre-shadows this morning with like an air conditioner pushing out ice chunks. The internet connection went off, and I thought it's not even here yet, and there's things happening. So the thing that I do is just I'm prepared. I start a couple hours early so I can get ahead of all these sort of things, and I always have a plan B. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, just always have a backup plan. And the cool thing with retrograde, because the energy is going to be touching, like I said, both months, even though we're ahead of it, is that it's going to give you a chance to let go of something that might have been a block in the past. So as we look at all the other cards, we'll see if there's anything that you can release and let go of. All right, I really, really love the star card. For me, it's probably my favorite because it indicates a really close connection to source energy. I love stars. When my book comes out, that's going to make a lot of sense because I use stars throughout that as imagery. So we have here the star card, which as you can see here, you're actually being connected to source, which is what I love. With the reversal of this, it's basically saying don't try to change who you are, what your dreams are to make somebody else happy. Instead, let your light shine brightly. Allow people to see you for who you truly are and trust that this light, I mean, we have two star cards, basically. The sun is a star, even though we call it the sun, and this is the star. So this is your ego. This is also your higher self. So allow everything to kind of be brought together. This is a true chance for you to integrate, to basically come out and to shine and show everything that you have to the world and to yourself. With this being in deep past, there's something that's happened for many of you in the past where you weren't allowed to go after what your heart desired. This particular star card shows a little bit of a connection. It's almost like a kite, but we can see it very close to her heart here, this cord kind of emerging. So I want you to think back on points in your life or dreams or parts of your life where you almost went for something, but maybe it was fear, maybe it was a friend that came in and made you doubt yourself. It could have been a parental influence as well. Whoever or whatever it was, let that go and think, you know, I can always reconnect to this. I can always reach higher too. Maybe some of you have gotten to a point where you're bored. You've checked off a lot of the items on your wish list. So this is a month to reach a little bit higher and push yourself a little more, because that's what I was seeing here. Like the breakthrough for some of you may be that it's not done or I have more to learn. So there's a chance this month to make some really great movement, because just to bring the camera down once more, with the Fool, the Sun, and the Star right here, deep past in the center, you've got so much energy of movement and change. It's really exciting, and I hope that you embrace it and do something amazing with it. All right, we have the Knight of Swords here in the recent past. So again, if you're watching it live, that means the latter part of June could actually be something where you're trying to catch up with things. You see this knight is moving forward, but we're looking at what's in front of him, and it's sort of, this is, I guess, his motorcycle here. But what I'm seeing is that there could be something where there's a time-sensitive deadline, or you feel like, how am I going to ever catch up? Try to let go of that and think to yourself, there's so much energy that pretty soon people are going to try to catch up to me. So I want you to sort of wake up each morning feeling engaged, move forward, and get to the point where you envision other people following you. You're the leader, not the follower. There's a chance to kind of shift it around. So if that lesson hasn't yet been learned by the time you're watching this, potentially in July, then stop worrying about what you have to catch up to and start to think beyond that. Because let's put it in the frame of like a business. If you're only worried about the here and the now, you're never going to be a leader that others look to. Innovation has to be a part of your overall sort of plan. And the same thing holds true in your life. If you're constantly worried about what's already happening or happened, it's a game of catch up. So I would say this is where the powerful idea is something that people may not understand. It's so far out there that you've been rejected before. Try it again. This time around, since the sun is in the center, it might be the right time. The other thing is that you have to truly believe in what it is you're trying to create as well. So you want to innovate and lead, not play catch up. And then also just I think at certain points, maybe cut losses on some things and think, I don't have to worry about this. I'm just going to focus on a couple of things. The Knight of Swords, if he or she is in your life, could also be someone that really acts quickly, and you could be taken by surprise by a new friendship or a new love interest coming into your life. Very direct energy with any of the court cards and swords, but this one seems like there's a little bit of fast movement with them as well. All right, I think the main thing you want to focus on this month is balance. We have the Two of Pentacles in the crowning position, and this doesn't always speak to a lack, like when we're looking at finances or resources. A lot of times it has to do with choices and finding a better sort of balance or a better choice in front of you so that you feel a little bit more sort of steady. Because a lot of times you'll see this card with the person either tiptoeing across a tightrope, or maybe they're kind of on a unicycle trying to get their balance. So for you, I see that there's probably enough when it comes to time, energy, and resources, but the choices could be perhaps a little bit better, or you're not feeling a sense of fulfillment. So maybe you're working really hard, maybe you're even getting a decent amount of money, but you get up every morning and think, why am I doing this? Or if you're in a relationship, you're putting in so much energy, but you're not feeling that sense of joy and excitement and desire to want to be with that person. So this is your chance to move ahead of the pack, break free if you have to, and decide, no, there's a better investment of my time and energy than this. The Fool, again, is a very gentle card of breaking up. So for some of you, there's this feeling like I need my space. All right. We have Eight of Wands here. The card is reversed, but for me, this is one of the very positive cards where I don't worry so much about that. Like Four of Wands, Eight of Wands are pretty much positive no matter what. This indicates an unexpected period of busyness coming through. So for those of you that own a business or have been under or unemployed, what we're seeing here in July for many of you could be this surge where this could be also, if we connect these two, there's a surge of activity and you need to be ready to embrace that activity. So this is a month where you want to be prepared for that and try to have a little bit of extra sort of contingency if it comes to like your resources or people that you can hire or whatever. There could be a chance for more work, more people, more customers coming in. For the rest of us, this means to keep busy, to start to push a little bit. Like Seven of Wands is a pushy card, and it's a segue into this. So don't be afraid to, shake the tree a little bit and see what's out there, and be a little bit more vocal, because we have the Knight of Swords, which is really about not just communication, but making sure that you're the one that's doing it. The Page is a little more passive. The Knight is not passive. So you're the one that needs to pick up the phone or send the email or check in with somebody this month. It's super important, especially when it comes to your job, your work prospects, any sort of customer relations that you might have, or if you're trying to find something, just making sure that you're really kind of engaging with your network. You'll be busy as we're looking at July, so that portends good things. All right, let's get into your soul this month. We have the Queen of Cups, which is really reminding you to get back in touch with what makes you happy, with what, again, that fulfillment that I was talking about with the Two of Pentacles here in the crowning position definitely ties up with this Queen of Cups. And this one can indicate new love coming into your life. It can also just say, I finally know who I am, what I want to do, what makes me happy, and I'm not afraid to express it. Queen and Kings are confident in who they are and what they do. So for some of you, there is this sense of being, knowing, and I guess it's a question of when you're ready to kind of move towards that. Overall, I love the Queen of Cups energy. Creative. The fact that I was hearing a musical composition and hearing a vocalization. If I knew how to write down music, I don't know how to compose. I would have, because I heard the whole thing. This is where I strongly believe that really everybody has the ability to tap into intuition, but musicians especially are tapped in. If they hear a melody or a song or lyrics in their head and you can hear the music, you're tapped into a psychic flow. Please do that if you are, because I heard it for you. I feel like what I heard was it was like a lead single type of thing. So if you're that kind of artist, go for it. If you're a writer, get busy today because there's something really important that will come through. Any type of art or expression, dance, etc. I feel like this can be a really important period of time for you. The retrograde's going to work in your favor, and you're going to be able to wrap something up and kind of go with that flow. So highly creative energy. You know, I even think that math and science can connect into this in medicine, because when we look at sort of in the past at people that have taken leaps of faith, whether it's Galileo or Copernicus or whatever, they look up at the stars, or they look at Einstein, they look at a mathematical equation, and suddenly they have this sort of epiphany, this connection with intuition. I feel like many of you can take that leap, going from the Fool into the Sun. So it's this quantum leap, if you will. Exciting. So this is where that can lead to some really great things. When I look at wands, it's potential energy. I think of, you know, wood or a match. You strike fire, then you actually use, I remember that much from physics or whatever. That's when you kind of tap into the potential energy. So many of you are building that. And I mention that because when we look in the environment, this is a month where you have to keep busy. So we see the wands there where they're kind of like pushing through it, and then all of a sudden the fire coming through. And we saw the sun. So we see a couple of really clear fire symbols here. Same thing with the star. But you've got to keep working at it. And I feel like this is going to be a busy yet productive month where a big leap can happen, where a big breakthrough can happen. So again, it doesn't matter if you don't consider yourself creative. What I see is like you push through something. It's kind of like if you've ever been on a construction project or trying to get through something as boring as a report that you're trying to finish up for somebody. Suddenly, it's kind of like you're racing, and you get to that point where you catch your breath, and you just kind of, you're done before you know it. So don't give up. I feel momentum will build, and you will get past that point of feeling like I'm never going to get there. I think for some of you, stop focusing on how much is left to go and just keep going. And suddenly you'll surpass your fear or your expectations. We see the Hanged Man here in the fear area or the opportunity area. What I like with this one is we kind of have a feeling of the acrobatics that you would see. And I don't know what kind of style of sort of aerial art that is, but there's the people that kind of work with fabric. And you can kind of control where you're at on this process. So what I like about this Hanged Man is that the person's kind of hanging out and trying to just stretch, relax, get a point of view. We see another beautiful star image here. And a lot of times on the Hanged Man, people miss the nimbus or the halo around the head. And we can see it here. And the whole reason for any sort of pause is for enlightenment. And that goes back to the symbology of the card itself, which was it Odin, the one-eyed god? Where he hung upside down to gain knowledge. To gain understanding. There was a sacrifice in that, but that lack of progress that you might have felt is now giving you sort of perspective, insight, and the tools necessary. If we look really close, we can see that there are little glyphs underneath, and she's kind of tracing out the glyphs, which tells me that this could be a very productive time for many of you. And if you let go of the feeling or the fear of, I won't catch up, or I wish I was at the office, or my kids are bothering me while I'm on Zoom, who cares? The whole distraction is supposed to get you out of the old cycle so that when you're taking care of something else, changing a diaper, taking the dog for a walk, cleaning the apartment, whatever, you'll get maybe in that moment an epiphany when you get out of the cycle. So see the distraction as the key, as the conduit to the breakthrough, rather than being the block or what you get angry with. Every time the universe throws some sort of a monkey wrench into whatever I'm doing, I think, all right, what am I supposed to be focusing on? I guess it wasn't that. I look around, I take a break, and I try to really sort of engage with that. Your outcome this month is the Page of Pentacles in reverse. So, you know, I love that we kind of see this pentacle almost as being like a wheel of fortune or something that she's woven here or whatever. But what I'm looking at with this is that the cycle, and we also see underneath another sort of, what is it? I forget the word for this, but it's a protective symbol. It'll come to me later. But what I'm seeing with this is that you are creating a new cycle, and you're beating to the beat of your own drum, sort of, or you're marching to the beat of your own drum. And I think it's a mandala. That's what that is. Thank you, guides, because I couldn't remember that. So what I want you to do is feel protected and safe in this space, and realize that you might not be ready to go 100% in whenever we go back to normal schedules and everything. This whole period has given you a time to go introspective and to invest and learn and fix the internal. So this Page of Pentacles is making sure that, because she's reversed, she's making sure that you are ready and confident in who you are and what you have to offer. Then and only then can the card go upright, and can you give what you've been working on, whether that's like, or kind of present or project the positivity that you want to. So there's something this month, and as we look at the expanded forecast and as we look at the areas for healing and peace, that should emerge a little bit closer, or a little bit clearly, I should say, a little bit more clearly. But for here and for now, I would say some of you may decide that you want to spend a little bit more quiet time, meditating, studying, reading, resetting and thinking, what is it that I want to do? What can I, getting back into that star energy. Once you realize what your dream or aspiration is, everything in your life starts to come into focus. And I actually think, like, if I look back on my own life, that was my mistake for the first 15 to 20 years, was I was following like the cues of previous generations, of teachers, of, I don't know, like I didn't spend enough time sitting and being present and fully, I guess, embracing what was possible at that period of time. I don't believe in regret. I think I still was led upon a path, but you can be so much more impactful if you know what you're trying to do. So this is your homework before I even get into the expanded forecast. What is it that you want to do in your life, and what is it that you want to do to make a difference on the planet? This is all we should ask our kids. It's not like, what do you want to do when you grow up? What makes you happy? How do you want to change yourself, and how do you want to change the world? Think of that. They're profound questions that will lead you into understanding what your creative purpose is, what your divine purpose is. Okay? Let's expand the forecast. We're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. And as we do this, a reminder that each one of these is a multi-part card. So I'm going to let the card lead us and see what the messages are. This is very interesting to come in through health. Immunity. I feel like it's very on the nose right now too. So a lot of us are worried about our safety, about our health, and I think it's a smart thing. It's important. So just to be very, very, again, reading it at face value, take care of yourself and make sure that you are not putting yourself at risk. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, a fellow intuitive, and I said, I'm not really seeing indications that I see the sickness happening for me, but I said, I'm not going to go outside and lick a handrail. And I'm definitely going to wear a face mask to be safe. I think if we take proper precautions and take care of ourselves, then we're okay. We can't help ourselves from other people's lack of care. So you can be as careful as you want, but if there's chaos around you, there's only so much you can do. So this is saying, be a good neighbor and take proper care of yourself. And if you do that, you should be okay. But if you don't, you're playing with something, you're playing with fire. We saw a lot of fire cards this month. Looking outside of coronavirus, immunity to me has to do with also a reminder of other areas in your life where you want protection. Make sure that, when you're looking at your investments, do you feel sound? Do you feel secure in how you're investing your money? Look at your house. Is everything secure the way it should be? With most of us being at home more, this is a chance to make sure you've got locks and everything is, as kind of tidied up as it should be. And for those of us like myself that live in earthquake country, make sure that you have like an earthquake kit, things like that. Just get everything together so that you have plan B, you're taking care of yourself, you're taking proper precautions. That's really it. Let's look at some other areas with respect to health. I do see a lot of work going on this month with the 8 of Wands and the 5 of Wands. So make sure that when you're doing this, as we saw with the Fool, that you're giving yourself a chance to get out, to stretch, and with the Sun card, to be playful, to have fun. There's a really great energy that we see with kids and pets that can be really freeing for us, which is just to kind of let it go sometimes. I can't focus anymore. I got to go outside. So give yourself a chance to take that break, to experience, the light of day. And we've got a lot of star energy here. So whether it's the sun or going out at night and kind of getting a change of scenery, I think that's going to be super healing for you. And that will help you stay healthier too. The immunity can have to do with your immune system. And part of that is sleeping, laughing, playing, and then eating well, of course. Work-life balance is the other piece that I see, and I think that hit on all of those. So primarily, it is just making sure that you keep perspective with all of this that's going on. I like the Queen of Cups is upright, so I'm not really seeing a depressed energy with that. I think some of you might just be more frustrated or anxious. The Hanged Man can often indicate a feeling of wanting to do something but not being able to, so that makes a lot of sense given what we're all going through right here and right now. Let's move along to wealth. Wealth, broadly speaking, is opportunity. If I were to have renamed it, I probably would do that, but it's easier to say wealth. So it's looking at our money, our jobs, and our self-worth, basically. And for this, we have the cloak. It's hard to know what's going on, right? This is a very beautifully illustrated card, though. The card is reversed, which is just showing me that a lot of us are under the veil right now. But with respect to that, I see us coming out of this. It just may not be exactly what it was. For me, this is kind of a different version of death, but a beautiful death card. This is like the dawn after the destruction or the sort of invention of whatever's going on. So don't worry so much about what you can't see. Focus on what you can see and focus on the creation element, because a lot of the energy this month is about your ability to connect to source and create and to innovate. You can't go back. That was another piece of the dream that I saw. Sometimes I haven't been in a corporate job for years, but sometimes I see like a corporate ID, and I didn't have one. I was trying to get back into an old office, and it was just a reminder, like, we can't always go back to where we were, what we did before, and who we are has changed so that we wouldn't want to necessarily. So with respect to wealth, think in a different way. Think of new things. Let go of that cloak and kind of come out of this as someone or something different. We can't go 100% back. We never will. If you look at some of the stuff that's happened post 9/11, the security stop gates that we've seen, they didn't go away. There are some things with this period. The virtualization is a good thing. You're going to see a lot more remote sort of meetings and things like that. I think that's going to stick around. There's going to be other things like taking temperature and whatnot that may stick around as well. When it comes to work overall, just innovate, because this is a good time. People are looking for new solutions. So if you are an entrepreneur, get onto that sort of bandwagon and find new ways to do it. And if you want to stand out and find a job amidst the sea of people that have similar skills, your willingness to try it in a different way is going to also make you stand out. All right, we looked at health and wealth. Let's look at love. Love, of course, is not just, your romantic relationships, but I feel like it really connects with all types of relationships. And this reminds me of the Three of Cups when it's reversed. This card was reversed, and that's what Three of Cups reverse can be, is like communication that's not exactly the best. It's gossipy, it's cliquey, and I think the important thing for you is to try not to get involved with that, because there's a high likelihood that it'll get back to the source. And also, here's just a really great general rule that you can use. If you're worried about the audience, you probably shouldn't say what you're going to say. If you have to think a half step and think, is this the right time to say this, or should I say this? You shouldn't say it. It's probably not good. Or if you're worried about hurting someone's feelings, find a different way to say what you're trying to say, or don't say it. I think it's better to edit and not say something that could hurt than to do it. And if you hear other people talking, just walk away from it. It's not your job to judge it. It's probably not necessary to get involved, but you don't need to feed the fire. If it's hurtful or wrong, I would just remind them that that's maybe against policy, or it's poor manners, or it's not something that they should be doing. But I also don't think you need to get into that, because sometimes it just feeds the energy. So walk away, starve that energy. They're not going to get the attention that they need. It should dissipate. Other cards for love, as I'm looking at this. So the fact that I've got the Fool and the Sun at the center, some of you may be dealing with a really juvenile sort of energy. And so another way to put this is like an egocentric person, where it's all about them. So I love the charisma that can be a part of the Sun. It can also be difficult sometimes to either be in the presence of that person Or if you are kind of in a point in your life where there's a lot going on, it's how do I temper this because other people may be struggling. So be mindful of that. And if there's someone that's kind of pulling all of your energy because of their big ego, again, limit exposure to that. And if there's something really great going on in your life, you should celebrate it, you should work on that, but also be mindful of the struggles that others might be going through and make sure that the communication of that message is in a way that doesn't seem like it's bragging or something like that. Just a gentle note on that. The other thing is with the Knight of Swords and the Queen of Cups, the two sort of central cards that came through for love this month. What I see here is two very different types of people. Creative, gentle, nurturing, a little bit speaking or acting before you think energy with this Knight here. So difference in maturity, not a big gap because we have a Knight and a Queen and that's pretty close. But what I'm seeing here is mental and emotional maturity isn't maybe necessarily where it needs to be. So be careful this month. You probably want to embrace more of the energy of the Queen of Cups, which is empathy, patience, and trying to help that person see where they can improve, because I generally like what I'm seeing here. We have some deep soul cards, the Sun and the Star. To me, this can be a very divinely connected union. The Sun and the Moon would also be a great example of that. But with the Sun and the Star, I like it because they're two stars. And I talk often about the ideal relationship sort of being like a binary star system, where neither of you has to overshadow or consume. You just sort of rotate around each other and you embrace and celebrate. You can have that different energy, different size, different function, but you're still kind of shining brightly. So that's the way to be successful this month, is not to try to change the person, but to imagine that you're both bringing something special to the equation. And if you can get there, then it's a really beautiful dance that I see with the Sun and the Star. Okay, let's move along to the final card in the expanded forecast. This is Destiny. An interesting thing with Destiny is the way that I look at it in the expanded forecast is that it's very malleable. It's basically a chance for you to look at where you're headed and decide, do I like that path? So the card says white witch and it says be the light. I don't really believe in the difference between, I just think magic is magic, right? And it's the source of the magic that makes it either elevated, high energy, or low frequency. And this is basically what I would have called this is just light worker. And then I would say like be the light. So that's what I'm going to say with this, because otherwise there's negative connotations. So we see the owl for wisdom. I would say for many of you, you know exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it. Take the high path, be the light worker, shine the light out there, and know that that's just as powerful as anything that is in the opposite direction. And this is really what we need right now, because there's a lot of shadow energy, particularly fear, anger, frustration. There's more, but those are the main shadows that are coming to me. I mean, there's a lot of other ones like bigotry and things like that, but it's all low frequency energy. So what we want to do to help it is to put things like compassion, love, support, listening, understanding, space for this to kind of heal and work itself out. And yeah, definitely a lot with love. Love is the language of God in the universe. Love can bring us through this. Love conquers all, and that's really what we need to focus on. Let me quickly review what we've talked about, and then let's get into areas for peace and for healing this month. All right, starting with the catalyst card, we have the earthworm. And again, I mentioned with this catalyst that this is a chance for us to emerge or reemerge stronger for that period of sort of like being under the veil. And we saw a few different veils here. We see it in career. We also see this period of kind of nighttime here with your own light coming out. It's almost like a hermit, this hanged man. So just realize that you still have all that beautiful energy that you can share with the world. There will be a time to come out of your sort of seclusion. And when you do, share that light. We need it. The channeled messages were to focus on creating a new beginning. And I mentioned that song by Tracy Chapman, which is beautiful. We have to break things down in order for that to happen. Break up, break down, break apart, break through. Basically, there is shifting. Think of like plate tectonics happening. So it's almost like we had that, Pangea, everything broke apart, everything's going to come back together. And that's kind of what's going on right now. We're drifting towards each other rather than away from each other. And that's, I think, a nicer way to look at it. And then in this process of reinvention and plate tectonics comes a new identity, a feeling like I can try something new. I don't have to be who I was before. At the center, we have the Fool card, which is one of risks, chances, resetting, again, having a new beginning or a new idea. It's Genesis, if you will. That's really what we see with the Fool. It happens after the world. So this is the beginning of the journey for tarot. And then we have the Sun energy on top of this, which is going into what really makes you happy and shining brightly. There's an egocentric energy about this that can be good, but it can also be something to be mindful of. So if it's you putting that out there, just remember that there's a lot of other people, and you want to try to find a way to be happy, be supportive, but not sort of trample on people. And the important thing is to not mute your light. That's not the thing here. It's just sort of like, how can everybody be lifted up? With the Star card, the other message here is getting back to what you really want to do to make a difference in this lifetime. So I don't care if you're a kid watching this or someone that's retired and thinking of the legacy for your grandchildren and everyone else in your life. The Star card is basically saying, I know what I want to do. I know what makes me happy. Why am I not doing it? And only you can answer that question, but that's what's coming through for the retrograde that, again, is going to come through between June 18th and July 12th. It'll give you a chance to I look at it and then hopefully reinterpret and rebirth that energy, because the other thing that I mentioned here is that the Fool and the Sun can be an ability to kind of bring something forth. Don't delay. This is a chance. You've got to basically start the month moving. So if you're listening in June, awesome. You can get ahead of that. If you're listening in July, you don't have a lot of time for sleeping this month. You want to really move forward. So I think that the other piece of this, though, is rather than worrying about how far you have to catch up, focus also on where you want to go next, because that's the sort of, it will give you this energy of movement and projection, and that's going to get you there faster. I think for some of you, if you're feeling this lack of momentum, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? The Two of Pentacles is work-life balance. If not, find a way to find that balance. Eight of Wands, an unexpected surge of possibility, of work, of opportunity. So I just feel like July is going to move along at a really fast pace. You're going to start the month busy, and then you're going to have a lot of other things coming through. So do your best to be present, to embrace those opportunities. I do think sleep is important. I'm just saying this isn't a month to put things off. You should have a list, and you should be crossing things off as you finish them this month. Big creative flow of energy, especially for those of you that are artistic. But as I mentioned earlier, math, science, medicine, they're all part of that. And you could have an epiphany or a really clear vision of what to do, and it may have been eluding you before. There's a lot of work to be done. I'm not going to sugarcoat that with the Five of Wands. But as we see here, there's a lot of potential energy that comes through this period of movement. The Hanged Man, a chance to get to understand who you are, what you want, and then ultimately that's going to give you what you need to have this moment of basically clearing out and showing that to other people. For many of you, you could emerge stronger after this period of change than you were when you started it, and that's exciting to me. And then we see a reversed page here, a Page of Pentacles, a lot of internal movement and internal growth happening, and that brings us back to kind of the earthworm energy that we see here, which is you're supposed to go within right now. You're feeding your mind, your body, your spirit, and that's, again, going to help you get into this reconnection to source. As we expand the forecast, be smart about things. The Immunity card is reminding you that with proper care, you should be fine, but you don't want to put any unnecessary, yourself at unnecessary risk or anyone else at risk. So just be smart. There's also other areas of your life that you want to protect, your finances, your home, make sure that everything's insured. Just take care of proper protection, and that should help as well. As we're looking at wealth, this is a period of rebirth. And to me, the cloak is the sort of like sunrise after the dark night. And that's what we see coming through here is the other end of death. It's rebirth. So this is a chance for rebirth, for new beginnings. And for many of you, you may end up deciding to take ownership of that, because whenever I see a queen card or a king card, there's a chance to sort of own it. But we also have the sun and the star here. So your face, your name, your brand could all be sort of intermixed. And for some of you, you're going to step out and do something on your own. Please, please, please avoid gossip, avoid any negative speech. Try to stay in the high energy. And that's what we see here with what I'm going to call the light worker card here. Be the light. And realize, to me, there is no such thing as like light or dark magic. There's just magic, and then there's the heart of the person that is using it. And so if it comes from a good place, it will be good. We look at this and it's really about intentions, right? So when you look at people, because I believe that thoughts are magic and power, but the way that we manifest them is through our words and our actions. And that's where the power symbols come through. And that's what we kind of see in the Hanged Man here. So for many of you, you're getting these sort of ideas and being able to sort of put them into motion, put them into movement, as we see here with the sort of mandala or the wheel of fortune that's kind of forming underneath that person. That's the important thing. So positivity begets positivity. Negativity ultimately only hurts you. It hurts people around you, but it's hurting your energy, your karma, your soul. So be the light, be positive, work on yourself. And if you want to say something bad, look internally and think, why am I doing that? How is this helping me at all? It's certainly not helping the other person. So is there something that I'm afraid of where it makes me feel like I should do it? And if the other person is doing it, maybe have compassion, because there's probably something off internally, where the only way that they can shine or be higher is to try to bring other people down. So we have to go above that, and we have to shine and show the light to those people. And so instead of engaging in barbs, you try to diffuse, to move away, or to inform. A lot of times it's just a chance for education and informing. Some people may not be aware of what they're saying or doing. So enough with that. Let me take a drink of water here, and we're going to take a look at past, present, and future opportunities for peace and healing. Excuse me. A lot of talking. All right, so let's take a look at the past first. We have the Magician talking about magic. You are what you kind of create. And I think we all forget about the ability for us to be manifestors. This card was reversed when I pulled it up, but I really wanted to show this sort of like galactic energy. That's what it looks like to me. It's almost like a spiral galaxy. So look at the infinity symbol right above the head here. And remember that you are creating something new in your life right here and right now. The energy that you're putting into this is creating something new. So I want you to focus on looking at, I'm now the author or the creator of tomorrow. So you can look at what hasn't worked before and learn from it, but it's not going to be a cycle that you have to continue. We every day are participants in our own story, our own play. So you can write a new song, you can write a new ending, you can write a new beginning. This is a chance for you to go deeper into the well and think, all right, how do I want to shift it? I am the alchemist. And ultimately, the Magician is reminding you that you've always had that ability. Somehow, somewhere, maybe that knowledge, that sacred knowledge, was lost. So I want you to get back into that energy of being able to focus. Now, whenever the Magician card is reversed, what can happen is that sometimes we are overwhelmed with what's in front of us. Typically, the Magician would show one of each element. And when it's upright, it means that you're like a jack of all trades. You can do anything you put your mind to. When it's reversed, it can show that either your mind is going in too many directions and you're second guessing your intuition, or you have too many pots that are boiling, figuratively speaking, and you can't finish any of them. It's kind of like if you're cooking, if too many things are happening, things are getting under and overcooked. So put a few things to the side and focus on one thing at a time this month, and focus on the thing that matters the most. All right, let's look now at present opportunities for peace and for healing. There's another message with Magician, by the way. For those of you that have been experiencing addiction or sort of like issues with Yeah, it's usually addiction. So if there's something like that in the past, just realize the cycle can be broken, and the fact that the card was reversed is actually auspicious. One last message that came through. Okay, present. We have the Nine of Cups. The card is also reversed. It's important that these cards are coming through reverse. Most of them today were upright. This one is positive in its upright position. It's celebrating the positive. It's basically the glass is half empty sort of card in tarot. And it shows that through the power of joy and just being in your highest energy, great things can happen. When the card is reversed, it can show kind of like what would look like a heartbeat, where it's extreme highs and extreme lows, almost bipolar type energy. And the important thing this month is to try to like pull it out a little bit so the highs aren't so high and the lows aren't so low. And if you're in one of those exaggerated highs or lows, try to just gain some perspective and understand that you're there to learn something, but it's not you don't have to stay in that space forever. If you feel like you need help, get help. But otherwise, the Nine of Cups is just showing that there may be something that comes through over the course of July that makes you feel like I've lost my footing. And the Fool card is really about trusting that wherever you're headed, wherever you're going, it's exactly where you're supposed to be. So trust in that, okay? And I think you'll be okay. And try to have some playtime, like I said before, laugh at yourself a little bit. And if you can do that, then you can break through that energy of being so hard on yourself. And I think some good things can come out of all of that. All right, let's look at where this is taking you. We've got the Two of Swords. You are being faced with a decision in your life. And the interesting thing with the Two of Swords is there's often not an extremely clear path in front of you. Sometimes it feels like you're either, there's a no-win solution, or it's like, how am I supposed to decide between two things that I care so much about? The answer here is to go within, as we saw with the Magician card, and really trust what it is that really inspires you the most. And it's going to kind of boil down to your heart and your soul. Once you've decided to take a path, I should say, that's okay. You've got to embrace that, move on that path. And you can always change course if you want, but don't beat yourself up. With the Two of Swords card, it's basically saying it's time to take action and inform yourself, prepare yourself, plan for it. But ultimately, if you stay there, it's a card of stagnation. You can't do that. And there's a little bit more impatience in this Two of Swords. A lot of times you just see a woman with the swords and she's like in front of two paths. With this, we see some birds kind of flying around and it looks like they're pulling at her hair. So I feel like there's an urgency to make a decision because some people are on your back or kind of like poking at you and asking you for you to make it. Take the blindfolds off, look at the path in front of you and decide, am I ready? And if not, I'm still going to have to do this. So let's just move forward. I think once you make that decision, you'll be okay. Looking specifically in ways to heal yourself, because that's what I wanted to do, healing and peace. The Magician reversed. Pick something that you care about and allow yourself to go into it. Be at peace with the fact that it's okay to do what you want, going back into the energy of the star. Nine of Cups, upright or reversed. It's okay to be really happy. It's okay to be really sad, but you can't be that all the time. So wherever you're at right now, do what you need to do to find an outlet. I mentioned music as being one of the outlets. Maybe that's something that you can use as an expression of the extreme anger that you might be feeling, or hurt, or pain, because you can't just sweep it under the rug. There has to be a way to kind of go through it. So I think for some of you, talking to a friend, talking to a psychologist or psychiatrist might be really helpful. Once you move through that, I feel like you're going to be able to decide what to do next. This seems to be sort of like connected to the Nine of Cups. So once you move through the emotional block, the blindfold comes off and you can just swat at those crows around you and move forward, move onward. All right, let's move into the healing portion here, where we're going to focus on integrating all of this. I'll be playing a singing bowl here in a moment, but we're going to also move through a guided meditation. As I look at the imagery here, I like the idea of a new morning or a new dawn, as we see here with the cloak. And I worked with cloak imagery before, and I might do something with that again. This time, I think it's about revealing who you are, who you've become. I like the idea of really allowing for the sun to come through, because we have the sun shining brightly here, several star cards actually. So maybe we'll bring on a new morning after this sort of dark night that we've all been going through for the past half year, and see where that takes us. I do also like the energy of the Magician, and we saw this card here again, this sort of light working card reminding you to work with the light. So we'll do a little bit of both. Come out of the night into the day and show our true colors, okay? Everybody relax a little bit, get comfortably seated, take a drink of water if you need to. Close your eyes, focus on the sound of my voice, and if you are gonna step away, please hit like and subscribe, but everybody else, just enjoy this meditation. I'd like you to imagine yourself outside on a starry morning. So imagine that this is just before dawn. So you're at that point of the night where if you looked at the edges of the horizon, you could see a little bit of light starting to come up, but it's still very much evening looking above you. You can see all the stars, you can see the moon, and just this sliver of light that's coming around all the corners of the earth. So take a moment, first and foremost, to just enjoy the quiet. All that you might hear now are maybe some distant, like chirping of crickets or tree frogs or some birds in the distance, but they're not quite awake. They're, this is before the sun has come up. So just the night sounds that you would normally hear. And listen perhaps to a stream that's flowing in the distance, and take a moment, a couple deep breaths to just let go of anything that felt heavy, that felt like it was a burden. And as you look up at the stars above you, I want you to pull this cloak of creation around you. Imagine that it's the same color as the sky, this sort of deep purplish, almost midnight blue, and you're pulling this cloak around you, and you can even see stars on the robe. It's this beautifully sort of astral themed etheric robe that you're putting around you. This is your sort of magician's gear if you want to. It can also be a cloak of death and rebirth. So within this cloak is opportunity. You're only limited within this cloak by your imagination, and that's how it works. So as you put on this cloak of death and rebirth, or this cloak of opportunity, I want you to just close your eyes to go back in time, go back to when you first decided to come into your body, into this life, before you had a shape or a form, when you were just energy. And I want you to remember what your soul purpose was. This is beyond when you were a child. This is back before you decided to come into this lifetime. Think for a moment. The first thing that comes to mind is going to be the most accurate, the most powerful. What is it that brings you joy in your life? What do you derive happiness from? What makes your heart sing? Is it music? Is it art? Is it science? Is it helping others? Is it changing the world? What is it? And I want you to feel that energy coming back into your present body. Connect yourself like we saw with the star card, imagining that you're reaching out into the stars and you're hooking on to that soul energy, and you're bringing it into your body. You're going to put it inside the robe and connect it to your solar plexus or to your heart space, and feel that you are now becoming something new because of this energy, because of this lifeline that you've put out into the universe. The solar plexus makes sense because it's almost like an umbilical cord. So in this process, you're going to rebirth yourself and become something different. So beneath this cloak, I want you to imagine that you have the ability to let go of something that you didn't like before. It's almost like you're shedding a sort of symbolic skin, like a snake skin, and you're going to become something or someone different. I'm going to play the singing bowl for a moment, and I want you to imagine that I can, I will, I am becoming something new. And just enjoy this energy of creation. And as you start to breathe, you start to see the light within, you start to see the light around you, and we're going to call in the rising sun through this breathing and through the singing bowl. Take a deep breath, and on the exhale, start the rebirthing. Take a moment to just settle into this new version of yourself, feeling that you are able, that you are willing, that you are ready to remove the blindfolds that we saw in the Two of Swords. And in this case, in a moment, to remove the cloak that has been hiding your true color, your star energy. Feel now that you are pulling that star within your body. There's no longer a connection or a cord because you have become that star. And as you start to feel the light, the energy within you, you start to see it on the horizon as well. You are one star meeting the other. This is the twin star energy that we saw at the center. So for some of you, that as the sun's rising on the horizon, it could indicate you connecting to your soul purpose. It could be a twin flame. It could just be you recognizing how wonderful and beautiful you are and how connected you are to this universe itself. Let your cloak come down now from your face. Let the light of the sun shine onto your newborn, fresh energy, and let the cloak go completely and just reveal who you are, standing in front of the sun, stretching your arms out, imagining just like a butterfly or a moth. You are free to fly, and as you listen to the birds singing and celebrating the sun rising, you also celebrate your new song, your new beginning. Taking a deep breath, let go of the old, seeing it come out as a puff of smoke going into the ether, feeling only the new, feeling only the possible, feeling only this new energy of discovery, of excitement, of being able to kind of tap into the art of creation. Gently open your eyes when you're ready. If you want to come back fully into your body, you can take your hands, rub them together, put your hand on your heart, and let it go. Good. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed the meditation today and the messages that came through. If I were to, again, kind of summarize a couple of things, there's a great flow of creative and healing energy that wants to make itself known. I think this month, more than ever for you, you really have to know who you are, because one thing that I forgot to mention in the summary is that if you don't fully value, understand, or know yourself, it's very difficult for others to do the same. And that's why we saw this particular page of Pentacles reversed. Know thyself, know who you are, know what you want to do, and then offer it to the world around you. You're going to be so much more successful in all your endeavors by doing that. And that's the message I'd like to leave you with. I'd like to thank everybody who's been kind enough today to just spend some time with me. I appreciate that. And especially for those of you that also gave a little bit extra with Super Chat, thank you. As I said earlier, I'll make sure that I properly give you some gratitude once this is on replay. If you would like to get involved in or just know what's going on with upcoming readings or anything of that nature, first and foremost, you can check out my website. Everything that I'm going to mention after this is here. It's myname.com, so nicholasashbaugh.com. The link is on my main YouTube page. You can just Google it. You'll find it. It's pretty easy. So nicholasashbaugh.com. My username here is the same as Facebook, so at Nicholas Ashbaugh for Facebook and YouTube. You can also join me as a sustaining member on Patreon. As little as $1 a month goes a long way into helping me buy new supplies. This particular deck is only a couple months old, and it came through the help of you. I'm actually going to get a new singing bowl, and that's actually thank you to all of my channel members. So I'll be using that hopefully later this week when it comes in. This stuff helps me upgrade my supplies. So if you want new cards and better singing bowls and things, consider giving back. It makes a big difference. You can also join me on Instagram, Nicholas_Ashbaugh. I use stories as a reminder there, so it's a great way to know what's coming through. Same thing with Twitter. I will tweet out a reminder of the next day's reading. So Ashbaugh is my Twitter handle. And for those of you that would prefer joining me on or contributing through PayPal, again, this is on my website, but paypal.me/NicholasAshbaugh. And that's all of the different ways to stay involved. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Means the world to me that you were present. And we're at a very important time in the world right now where we see old systems moving away and new ones coming in. So you can be a part of that. Remember the energy that we saw here, which is there is a light at the end of this tunnel. And for many of us, it's just remembering that we will have a chance to come out again and to hopefully be stronger for this experience. So much love and light. I can't wait to see you guys again. This is Sunday. I'll be back on Monday, same time. So I will see you then, and take care of yourselves in the meantime. Be well and be nice to yourself and others. Much love and light. Thank you.